I'd pay money to see that.
I'm trying to remember if I hit the broadcast button before I said that or after. Whoa! Oh my god, my camera's just having a shit storm.
Your camera's in the same condition that you are, Shane.
Yeah, pretty much. Hello there, everyone. Welcome to episode 15 of the Crafty Boys. And here we are, all of us, together again. And I want to point out one danger of doing a podcast that has something to do with alcohol is that when you drink the beer beforehand and then continue with a different type of beer, we're going to see what gets real. I'd like to welcome you all to the show, and my name is Shane, and I'm going to pass it off to the other people to introduce themselves.
Oh, I'm Alan. I'm in Victoria. Next.
Don't jump in or anything, Dave.
What?
Introduce yourself.
I'm Dave, Comox Valley, we'll say.
Yeah, and I'm here in Vancouver. Yeah, Lockfold.
Yeah, did you have to remember your name there? Like,
Well,
and my name is something.
Hey, we forgot our tags underneath our pictures.
Oh, that's right, we totally did. Well, you still can add them in, boys and girls.
I'll wait till next week.
But and Alan's waiting till next week, so screw everybody else. So this week we have a very interesting beer that has been selected by Locke himself. And now, Locke, why did you pick this beer? Because I can't even pronounce it appropriately.
Okay, now, so the reason I picked this beer is because it is delicious. It is very, very tasty beer. It tastes a little bit of a balsamic vinegar, but with a sort of a drinkability that sort of makes it sort of go down a bit like, I don't know, a little bit like champagne, a little bit like, but I mean, as beer goes, it's definitely you're sipping beer, and it's just really different than all the other stuff that we've done on this show, I think. So that's kind of why I went with it. As to how it's pronounced, I think in French it would be something sounding like Duché de Bourgogne, but I'm happy to call it Duchess of Burgundy, because that's what Bourgogne means, fundamentally, is Burgundy. So, Duchess of Burgundy. And I find it interesting that if you pour it into the glass, and let's do that right now. Yep.
Yep, let's do it.
See it. Hold it up, hold it up.
Hold up. Can't see.
Can't see?
Oh my god, look at that.
It's like wine.
It's kind of burgundy in color.
Okay, I'm gonna do mine here. Just yeah, holy.
Dave K. Valley dude. Alan,
That's nice
that is
looking.
gorgeous. That is
Yes.
nice. That is gorgeous.
All right, so what are we drinking here? Like what is this? What type of beer is this?
This is a Flanders Red Sour, is what I would call this. I think it's sometimes just described as a red-brown Flanders ale, but it's got that sour thing going on.
Yeah, totally. You know, smelling it at first glance, it kind of smells like balsamic vinegar almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit sweeter, you know, but
It smells really yummy.
it almost kind of it has like like a soda pop kind of feel on the tongue, you know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
It
effervescent.
was similar to that sour that you and I had, Locke, about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, you're thinking about the Storm Sour.
Yeah. That was actually not bad. I was impressed.
Yeah. Yeah, well, sour, I think is sort of a new horizon. It's where craft brewers are sort of starting to show more and more interest. I think Driftwood just came out with a short run sour. Now it's priced at something like $14 a bottle. So I kind of,
What?
yeah,
Yikes.
I haven't tried it yet for obvious reasons. But yeah, sour is something people are increasingly interested in, and so that was something that drew me to this. Now, in terms of alcohol, it's way less content than something like the Storm Imperial. Storm Imperial, I think, ranges to 14%. This is sort of more like 7. But I'll
Six
tell
and
you,
a half.
yeah, drinking it. I don't know if it's the effervescence or the fact that it just you notice the taste more, but I find I can sip on one of these for a lot longer than it'll take me to knock back plenty of much higher alcohol beers, right? So it's and it's a satisfying drink. It doesn't leave you feeling without a buzz, if you see what I mean.
Well, I thought it was actually quite. I mean, it reminded me so much of that sour that you and I had. Sorry, what's it called again? The Storm?
Yeah, Storm Imperial Sour.
And I mean, I enjoyed that a lot. I was surprised actually because I thought it would be far too sour. Because I mean, I've had a few sour drinks before, but never in a beer. And it was kind of my first go at it, and I was pleasantly surprised, and I was very surprised that this one was as sour as it was. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I gotta say, I give it a thumbs up because I mean, sours are hard to describe other than they taste like yummy, but they have a kick to them that's not. I don't know. Another way to describe it to me would be it's not normal. It's not something you have all that often. So I was impressed. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this too. I mean, it's if I didn't know, if I didn't see the bottle and where I got it from and all that, and then somebody just handed me a glass with this stuff, I wouldn't know that it was beer. To be honest, I'm kind of left wondering in what situation would you have this? I mean, I can't see this having this at dinner with like a steak or anything like that. I mean, what kind of situation?
I think arguably it'd be something you might have sort of after dinner.
Yeah, like a dessert kind of.
Like a dessert kind of a drink, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had the explosion of ice wines about, 15, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
As like an after-dinner kind of treat. But yeah, I could totally see these being, sours of all kinds, I suppose, being that kind of realm. Now, Locke, have you seen a lot of these around? Because I've only seen, I had the Imperial, and then this is only the second one I've had. But what else have you seen around town?
Yeah. Well, so I think I think there's a few others sort of. I don't know if I've discovered any Belgian sour that comes actually from Belgium available here that I like better than this. This is my favorite so far. There is another one that I've tried, which apparently is sort of I think is mixed with a little bit of cherry liqueur or something like that. And then there's another, and then there's lambics, right? I mean, you've always found creeks and lambics if you're going to your sort of your specialty kind of shops. I mean, any situation where you'd be having a creek or a lambic, this is an obvious competitor as a choice. But yeah, in terms of local sours, I mean. What was it? Oh, Bruin? Is that?
Yeah, I think so, or something like that, anyway.
Yeah, I think I've seen that sort of rear its head, as it were. Yeah, in terms of stuff going on locally, yeah, I mean the most recent news I have is just that Driftwood just did a recent one that was a high price number, but we'll see. I mean if it's successful, and by the price they seem to think that it'll be successful, who knows? It'll start to come down in price so that more people will be trying it, um, but I mean, I've always been fascinated by lambics as a style of beer. Um, it's a much older type of brewing, um, and frequently done without the aid of hops. I think in its original formations. So yeah, I mean, and that's the other piece of it is me. I'm amongst other things interested in history. So yeah, this Duchess in particular was the heir to Charles the Bold. So basically, after Charles the Bold had following the path of his father, tried to sort of centralize the Burgundian states along the same lines of what France had done. Essentially, when the Duchess became the heir, she had to sign a bunch of agreements, ultimately undoing a lot of the centralizing that the last two generations of her family had done. And so she was ultimately the last of a line, which is all sort of interesting history. Amongst other things, she was, and apparently this, so Wikipedia tells me, she's rarely called this in English, but in French she's sometimes known as, and I don't know how I would pronounce this, but Mary the Rich. Her name was Mary. That wasn't previously evident. But anyway, so Mary the Rich, if you were looking for why they might have named this beer Duché de Bourgogne, it might be because it is indeed a kind of a rich drink.
I totally agree. I think it really is. It's gonna funny when you were doing this in the history lesson, I was gonna ask Dave what he thought. And
Holy!
I clicked over to his camera, and he wasn't even there. So, sorry?
Can anybody else hear Shane? Am I the
No,
only
I can't hear him at all.
What? You
Yeah,
can't hear me at all?
Well, we can hear you, but it's all distorted.
Oh, crap. I must be sorry, man. So, Alan!
Yes, Shane.
I actually, sorry, this question was for Jane. But I guess I'll address you all. Now, the thing that I was wondering about with this particular beer in mind is, have any of you noticed what is going on with the thought in my head that just left? It like just took stage left and is gone. Oh my god! Well, that's so much for the show. Thanks for coming out, everyone. I thought of this question when you were talking about it, and I thought it would be very interesting to talk about.
Hey, Shane. Shane.
Yeah.
Shane. Can we pause this so we can work out your audio issue? Because I can't understand a word you're saying.
Oh, really?
It's really bad. It's like you should say, here. This is what I want you to say. Do you want large fries with that?
Oh, we had left.
All right.
And I'm just gonna talk because I'll have to splice this together.
We're back.
So I'll just talk like nothing happened. Well, that was fascinating, Locke. That's totally interesting about the entire history of beer brewed in the United States, in the United Kingdom.
It's not in the United Kingdom.
No, wait, it was France. It was France. Wow. So we need to.
Minor technical difficulties, but I think we managed to.
Yeah, minor technical difficulties, as if I couldn't understand the word geography. So the question that was asked, by the way, thank you viewers for returning, is oh, Alan brought it up, wondering if had any hashtag Canadian man stuff to talk about this week. And the question was thrown at Dave before our stream died that basically he will save us all from not having one lick of information to talk about. So, Dave, over to you.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
No.
How's your car search going?
My what? Who?
Your car
car.
search.
Oh yeah, that's yeah. I tried. This is actually kind of interesting because I was turned on to this one ad on what is it, Auto Trader? You guys remember the old auto newspaper, right? That you could pick up.
They still print those?
Green. I think it was called Auto Trader. Same thing, but it was like this green sort of newspaper, right? Magazine newspaper thingy. Pick it up at your local wherever, and everybody advertised their vehicles in there. Well, it's the same deal online. So I was sent this ad for a really, really uncool car. It was just Matrix. But I'm familiar with Matrix, so I'd be pretty comfortable just buying one, right? Anywho, I sent an email through the system. This is the thing I don't like about Auto Trader is you're forced to go through this wall. You can't connect to the seller directly because after I sent an email, I thought, well, I'll just try and actually just phone the seller. So I tried the phone number that it gives on the ad, and the silly thing goes through to frickin' Auto Trader. So I didn't even pursue it. I don't know what happens if you just let it go through, but it was kind of weird. Anyways, I got no answer after a couple of days or 3 days on the initial email, so I thought, well, I'll just try again because maybe I gave the seller the impression that I was not interested anymore or wouldn't be after, Saturday, whatever.
Right.
But still nothing. So I've basically given up on that car. But I don't know. You guys hear of anybody that's had experience with Auto Trader, or have you guys ever bothered using it?
No,
I'm not really sure how it's supposed to work.
I've looked for cars with Auto Trader, but the online one, but I've never actually contacted anybody or tried anything.
I seem to recall recycling Auto Trader a few times. I don't recall ever using it though. I think I know that I perused it, but I've never been interested at the time to actually buy or sell a car. So.
Yeah. Well,
now, I have a little bit of experience buying stuff off of Kijiji.
Yeah, I looked on there too.
Yeah, I mean, I found Kijiji not too bad. I mean, so less middlemanish than what you just described with Auto Trader.
Yeah.
But it does, go with, the sort of all the buyer beware kind of caveats.
Well, the thing that I remember about, I mean, the only experience I've had with buying or selling cars was pretty much, you show up at some dude's house and you're like, give me the car, and they're like, okay, give me the money, and you're like, okay, and then you drive away. Nothing too complex. However, about 6 years ago or so, we built a website for a company that was trying to basically sell contact information between dealerships. So if a dealer that had a lot with cars on it wanted to transfer or sell a car to another lot because they just couldn't sell it at their lot, that maybe they'd have better luck elsewhere. Essentially what they did was they sold contact information between the dealerships. And the dealerships never really cared enough. They didn't actually want to post cars. They didn't want to do anything. They just wanted this magical transfer to happen. So ultimately the website ended up failing because the guy who designed it was not too bright. But it's interesting that the Auto Trader does the same thing, where essentially it's selling you contact information, or at least the person selling anyway is paying potentially for it. where they're gaining access to people they may not gain access to, and I find it interesting that it's difficult to do that kind of stuff. You have to make it so incredibly easy that it's, like breathing. A dealer wakes up in the morning like, oh, I got 20 cars in my lot I can't seem to sell. I should sell them to somebody else or trade them for something else, and la da 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 da. So I'm surprised that you've had that problem with AutoTrader, because it should just be easy. You want the car? Yes or no? You want to come
Well,
look at it? Great. If
for
not,
sure.
then fuck off. I'll get someone else to do it.
Admittedly, this is the first and only one that I've actually attempted to contact somebody with it, right? So it could easily be that the dude selling it is either missing it because it's caught in his spam filters, or B, the damn thing's sold already, doesn't want to be bothered anymore, or God knows what else could be going on with it. And that's the thing that kind of annoys me about there being this wall in between buyer and seller, is you don't know what has gone wrong, or if anything's gone wrong.
Well, at the same time,
That's what I
I
don't
guess
like.
it's kind of, it's interesting, because the one thing that I find very interesting about this whole buying and selling online as an individual, rather than going to a store or go to an antique store or some sort of reselling system, whatever it is. And then people tend to think of these things, vehicles, furniture, whatever, as having very little value. And I find that really annoying, because when I moved last year, we had some, not expensive, but some valuable stuff that we wanted to get rid of. And it was like trying to, basically at the end of the transaction, of any transaction, whether it was free or they're giving you money for it, you just wanted to punch them in the face. Because a lot of them, they wanted to treat you like a store. They wanted like a full history of the product. They wanted to know if the product was still under warranty. They wanted to know if the product was this, that, the other thing. It's like, if you want those kinds of reliances, if you want that kind of security, then go to Walmart or go to, I don't know, Lazy Boy, and buy the stuff you want. Sure, you're going to buy it brand new, and sure, you're going to spend 400 times the amount you want to spend for right now. And it annoyed me so much that I started doing a bit of research on this sort of stuff. And the funniest and the most interesting bit of research I located was out of Ontario, at the University of Western Ontario, where somebody had done a study about the level of stress people experience when making a purchase. And this particular article was about, the research they did was about, not about furniture or Kijiji or Craigslist. It was about the purchasing of a 99-cent app. And they found that people that were purchasing an app for $1 experienced the same amount of stress as buying a home. And
What?
to me, that is fucked up. That is complete bullshit.
That's Yoda shit right there, dude.
I know, and this is the thing they were finding. They were finding repeatedly that these people that were buying apps for 99 cents experience the same amount of stress that a buyer does for a fucking house with bricks and mortar and drywall, and it was amazing that they had these kinds of stress levels, because it points out that there's something wrong with our society as it is now, where people have this idea that things should be free, or things should be at such a quality level where they're able to continue buying that type of product for that amount. It's skewed. This is, I don't know, I guess sort of to sum up this huge thing, there's this weird skew.
I
that
buy
people,
what you're, I agree. Let me tell you what I think. What I think's at work there. I think it's people spending too much of their brain space on sort of rational models of how things ought to be, and not enough time checking out how they are. Because because I mean I think the key phrase in that covers like the whole situation that you were describing, trying to sell your stuff online, is as is, right? Like,
Well, and that's
I,
true. And,
you
and
know,
the
you don't need a
best part
paragraph.
about it.
It is.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just saying, yeah, like, I mean, people got to get used to, you know, you will assume risk every time you get up in the morning and walk outside, and the world isn't perfectible. It's not plannable always. You know, we make plans not because they're going to work, but because if we don't have a plan, we probably won't get around to doing much of anything.
That's true. That's very true. The interesting thing that is I think overall to me about that sort of stuff is that the perception of value is changed so much, and to the point where it's infecting if you go to a university or a college, and there's this attitude of I am buying my education, not I'm giving you money so that I have the opportunity to learn. And there's this weird dichotomy where people are assuming that because they've given somebody else money, that they are obligated to provide you with something in return. And sure, if you're going out to buy a burger or you're going out to buy a lazy boy chair and you put it in your home and you sit in it, and if it doesn't fold up and eat you like a shark, or doesn't, suddenly explode into a ball of flame, then you've obviously got your value, right? You've purchased this chair, you can sit in it, you can do whatever you want with it, you can set it on fire yourself if you so desire. But when it comes to intangible things like going to Kijiji or going to Craigslist, where really all of this stuff is intangible, it is not a real thing until you actually go to the person's house and look at it. That you have this weird perception that this person who wants to sell this thing has some obligation to sort of sell you on it. Where really, if you're putting stuff on Craigslist, I don't think there's really any obligation for you to do anything other than, I have this thing for $10. If you want it, come get it. If you don't want it, go fuck yourself. And I had that problem when selling stuff last year when I had a whole bunch of this extra furniture I didn't need. And I ended up putting stuff in, and this is this crazy shit. This pisses me off every time I think about it. I had this stuff. I had an expensive thing I bought for like $100. It was like a TV stand. I didn't need it anymore. I was going to sell it for like $20 online, and the amount of shit I got about selling this thing for $20, which was only a year old, was worth $100, made of glass and metal, all this kind of shit, that I got so much crap for it that I decided to put it in my hallway and put a sign free on it because I didn't need it. I wanted it gone. And it was so stressful for me just to deal with the crap of the retarded people that are out there that are scamming people on Craigslist or sitting there waiting for the best deal ever and trying to fuck you over for no matter how much you're giving it away for. And it took me a week to decide, you know what, I'm just giving this thing away for free. I'll put it in my hallway. I'll put a sign on it. And then when it's not gone by tomorrow morning, I'll put it up on Craigslist for nothing. Because I just need it gone. It's clogging up my space. I don't need it. And I'm tired of dealing with fucking assholes. And by the time I put it out in the hallway I put this TV stand with a shelving unit and a bunch of other stuff, expecting that it would be there in the morning. It was gone. All of it. In a hallway, in a building. Like, I didn't put it on the street, I didn't put it in a back alley, it was in the hallway outside of my door, and I woke up in the morning fully expecting to go, okay, I gotta deal with that furniture, I gotta deal with that thing, I gotta put these online again. And I opened my door, and in the middle of my doormat was a candy. One candy, like a fruit-flavored, whatever the hell it was, and everything was gone. And I had this immense relief that I had no longer had to deal with the shit because I didn't need it, and I was more exasperated with dealing with the fucking assholes out there that wanted me to give it to them for nothing because of they were
Okay.
simply human beings. And I'm like, fuck
I,
you.
I just gotta say,
I want
having
$10 for
just
the thing
gotten
that I
out,
spent 100 on, and fuck
having
you
just
for
gotten
telling me
out
it
of
was worth
contract,
nothing.
I
Sorry,
gotta
go
tell
ahead.
you that the beautiful thing about your story there, Shane, is the fact that they left the candy. You have all three prongs. You've got offer, acceptance, and consideration.
Exactly.
Very so
And
tidy.
I found it very interesting just how my experience soured me to the point where I would rather make more of an effort to give it to somebody that I know needs it. You know, it's like I have a bookshelf. Do you need a bookshelf? Oh God, I could totally use one. Great, I will give it to you for nothing. All we have to do is get it to you. And I couldn't believe the
Oh, you just
jackasses on Craigslist. You know?
you just touched on a really interesting economic principle. I like this. This is some abstract shit here. Think about this. There's a certain cost to doing business with people who you don't know, maybe don't trust, right? It's more effort. There is a cost attached to that. So think about transactions in terms of I have to deal with some motherfucker that I don't know cost. And
Yeah.
consider that as an economic element in every transaction that goes on around the world, day after day. That is a real piece of the puzzle that people are usually blind to.
But it's true, and I find that just doing business in general, um, I would say that probably the vast majority of the stuff that I've run into, of people I've run into, tend to be okay. Some of them might need a little more prodding to recognize that the work that I do and the work that they do has value. And this is the weird thing. When people perceive that the object or the work that they do has very little value, they put that upon other people where I have to tell people that I'm expensive. I do a lot of stuff, and I do a lot of stuff well. And I know that you don't know how to do that stuff, so therefore I have value. But the biggest problem I run into is people that devalue themselves, where they want to do something that they want to either change their career, or they want to sell a product, or they want to do whatever it is online. And they come to me and I say, okay, well, this, that, and the other thing. And they're like, well, I could just do it myself. I'm like, go ahead and do it yourself. That's totally fine. It doesn't, I don't care, whatever. But then they turn to you and they kind of go, well, why don't you want to help me? I'm like, because you don't want to pay me. But I don't have any money. It's like, I don't care. Like, it's so incredibly strange that when the type of work, the kind of work that I do, you almost have to be two things. You have to be a babysitter, and you have to be like a life coach, because the worst clients I've ever had are the ones that don't value what they do the most. And they could be high-level professionals and all kinds of stuff, and they could have gone to school for 20 years. But when it comes to presenting themselves in a different way where they want to do something for their own, you know, whether or not they just want to make more money or they want to do something different or they want to just change their career a bit, it's fascinating that they don't have any value for themselves. So that when somebody says, it'll cost you $1,000 for me to build that thing, to set this other thing up, to connect it to this other thing, and do this other thing, and that's going to take me, 20 hours to do. And they're like, well, whatever. But then I have to show you how to do it, and then I have to show you how to do it. If I get hit by a bus tomorrow, I'd like you to know how it runs. Like, there's all these things that people don't consider, that they have no concept of what the value is. It's
But
fascinating.
consider this point. Um, the world's top advertising firms don't do their own advertising.
No,
can't-
that's actually true. I've run into that a few times where
They're
these large firms that are
Because
building.
the truth is,
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
sorry. The people, even the people at the very top of that game, the people who are best at advertising, still devalue their own work. It's endemic. It's something that it's very hard for people to present themselves in the best possible light because it's just not human nature.
No, that's true, and and
I
it's
would
sad
say
to
it's not
watch.
Canadian nature. This is a Canadian thing.
Maybe could well no. We're not talking just Canadian advertising firms. We're talking American firms as well. Like nobody at the top of that game thinks that they themselves are the best people to be putting their best foot forward. Somebody else should be doing that because other people generally maybe I'm phrasing it in a negative way. Let me phrase it in a positive way. Other people see a better you than you usually see, and most people are blind to that.
That's
Okay, fair
true,
enough.
and I've run into that so many times now where it's like, because I mean, when you boil it all down to what I do, I build websites, I teach people how to do stuff in that social media realm, and I maintain what we build. And it's pretty simple to me in my brain, but a lot of people don't have any idea what it is that not just me, but people that in my industry do. And I'm talking about from graphic designers all the way through people that do all the tech work. And the problem is we have so many people doing just one of those particular jobs that they don't understand the full breadth of what it takes to do stuff. And that's why when I tell people that actually want to do something creative online, they're like, I want to make a blog. I'm like, great, I can help you do that. But the reality is you really should go and use something like blogger.com for 60 days and make the commitment that you're going to do it once per day. You're going to do 300, 400, 500 words, and it doesn't matter what you're talking about, but you need to get into that realm of setting your brain to doing those kinds of things.
Mm.
And if you want me to mentor you, great, but you're going to have to pay for my time because I've been doing this a long time, and I kind of feel like I have value with what I have to say about it. So, hell, I've written. You Google my name, you will see books that I have written. So, there's these
Books?
things. There's the paper things. You open them up and stuff. Um, but yeah, It's fascinating that the real problem comes down to not just. It's not about the tech. And it's not about the how. It's about the why. Why are you wanting to do this thing? Why is it? Is it because you want to do it for money? If that's the reason, then I don't recommend doing it because you're not going to do it very well, and people are going to have their own built-in BS detectors to tell them that. So it's sad that basically the entire industry that I'm in is all about technology, but really what it's about is about building the confidence of people that walk through the door and want me to do the tech stuff. And that's the part that because they have such a low opinion of themselves that they don't actually know that what it is that they have to offer actually has value. And that takes up more of my time than the tech stuff, and that's sad. Anyway, that's just me. Hi! Wow, I'm so happy!
All right. How did we get from Dave's car to your clients and?
We were talking about value and how Dave's experience is actually, here's the
Yeah.
thing, Dave's experience is not unusual. It's become the norm. And I don't totally know why, but just from my experience, doing something as simple as contacting somebody that you don't know to say, hey, the car you have for sale, I would like to buy it, or I'd like to at least come look at it before I decide whether or not I want to buy it, becomes difficult. Because 20 years ago, if you opened an auto trader, you would open an auto trader, you would have a phone number to phone, you would leave a message on that thing, the person would respond to you or not. But now we have all these walls in between where basically are based upon internet technology, and people have gotten used to it. They've gotten used to not talking to human beings face to face. They choose for stupid reasons, in my opinion, to put up these walls. And if you don't want to talk to somebody, you don't have to. Or
Yeah, but
you want.
there's other players in this though too, because some of those walls are things that it'll be a service. Somebody builds a wall so that they can become a middleman so that they can own that wall. And now they're the mini Kyber Pass.
That's true.
Right?
I mean, essentially, if you think about it, Facebook and the website I built so many years ago, that's exactly what it is. You're building a wall in order to facilitate communication between human beings, but because
You're
at
also
the end,
becoming the facilitator, and so therefore the crucial role who somebody has to pay eventually, right?
exactly, and this is the thing. I mean, Facebook every year says, asks people what would you pay to use Facebook? Because if you don't like the ads and you're using ad blockers and you're not paying us to make ads, we still got to pay the bills. No matter how much money you think we have, we still at the end of the day have, what is it? Facebook has something like 1,000 employees or something now, and people go, oh, 1,000 employees, what the hell do they do all day? Well, what the fuck do you think they do all day? Facebook requires 400,000 servers now to run. And those things don't run by themselves. It requires human beings to take care of them and do all kinds of stuff that you'd never, ever see. And, I mean, I rant about this on every podcast I do, and now, sadly, I'm ranting about it on a beer one. But there you go. You know what? Brewers have value. Brewers have value.
Of course they do. They have big value. Lots of value.
It's
lot-
so
Alright.
sad. It's so sad.
Comment,
So anyway,
you
on that note, I'm going to be
beer.
quiet, and I think we're way over time now.
Yeah.
So, dudes, awesome people. We'll start on the other end of the thing. Locke, where can people find you online?
Locky Bolton on Twitter.
Don't sound too happy about it.
I mean, I just love it when people get in touch with me online.
Do you?
You prefer them to phone you? All right, send out your phone number. Because I got in trouble for that this morning.
Oh.
Dave, when people can find you online, and I know they can now, where can they find you?
Well, G Plus has actually always been there. Not that I'm active on it, but it's there. But I reactivated at the prodding of a certain Shane who will be unnamed my Twitter account.
Which, by the
is-
way, you mentioned it last episode, but it's actually the best Twitter account I've heard in a while. What is it?
It's the Fool. So the Phule is how it's spelled.
Which is bloody epic. Alan, where can people find you when they're searching for you online?
In porn sites. Because I got such a big, huge schlong, I get called for to appear in movies and stuff. They say, Ron Jeremy, he's not cutting it. He's not cutting it. We need a real man. So they contact me.
And on the next channel, just joining us is Alan's wife to give us some detail about this thing he's telling us. Best answer ever, by the way.
They can find me online on Twitter at Alan M. Ford. Which I did have on my little thing below my picture there before we had our technical difficulty, and now it's gone. I didn't think it was that funny, guys.
Dude, you are not in this room, apparently. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for coming. We'll be back next week. And, of course, if you're drinking beer, make sure that it is good beer. Because we'll tell you about what good beer is.
Like this stuff right here.
That stuff right there.
I can't pronounce it. What is it, Lockhart?
Duché de Bourgogne.
Right. It's like drinking pop. Like that tastes like vinegar.